Also that.
I was hoping you were going to do that one, Hans.
Nah.
Help brother out.
Nah, I'm letting you do all this work.
What's going on? Welcome to the Tangents podcast.
First one of the year!
First one of 2019.
2019!
Been a minute.
Listen, we're going to start out very controversial.
Holy shit, we're not even done.
We're not
even going to introduce.
No, we're not. There's nothing to
Stop doing
introduce.
that.
There's nothing to introduce. My name's Harris. This is Dalbor. We have a channel called T3G Media. We started this channel, a / podcast called T3G Tangents. Why? Because we like to go into tangents.
Sure we do.
Yeah, we talk and then we just somehow end up in a totally different conversation that had nothing to do with the first one. So
almost always. Now we are doing this in kind of three ways. If you're listening, you can also watch this on the T3G Tangents channel on YouTube.
Yep.
You can also check us out on caffeine.tv live. We are going to go back to doing this weekly.
We're going to try to do this weekly, yeah.
So
sure.
Every week on Monday, unless the schedule changes and we have to switch. But right now, every week on Monday, it's what, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
4 o'clock in the afternoon?
Let's call it early to mid-afternoon. We'll be doing this. And it's announced live on Twitter. As soon as we go live, it tweets out. So
It is.
These are all the ways you can watch us and join in on the conversation.
And plus, you got 1,000 different ways you can listen to the audio because
it's on everything. It's on everything as far as
every platform. So iTunes, Google.
So it's on Google Podcasts. It's on Apple Podcasts.
It's on our website.
It's on our website, of course, t3g.media.
There's definitely a bunch of different ways you can listen / watch this. Let's just get into
the things we're
going to talk about.
This has been originally this started as us talking about TV shows and movies.
Yeah, we normally do TV shows, movies, sometimes tech. Technically, we've done tech podcast style videos back in the day, but we never called them podcasts.
Yeah, we did tech.
We just
tech
did
talk,
like
T3G
tech
Talks.
Yeah, T3G Talks.
Yeah, T3G Talks was kind of like where this started. So we kind of go all over the place, and we'll be talking about a few different things. Our kind of three main things that we're going to be talking about. Of course, there will be tangents.
There will be tangents.
But our three main things.
We're always going to go into tangents.
Our three main things today are going to be Liam Neeson.
And that's going to be the controversial one.
That's going to be the big one.
That's going to be the big one.
We're going to talk about Titans and Young Justice. We just finished the mid-season finale of Young Justice.
Yeah.
And then probably go into a bunch of other TV show stuff.
Stuff that might be coming up. Stuff that's
for sure stuff that's coming up.
Like that. And but let's start with Liam Neeson. I actually was just, because, you asked me to just Google that last name just to make sure we had it spelled right.
Just in case you're confused.
Just in case you're confused how to spell that last name.
It's Neson.
There's a bunch of little things going on here. The damage of Liam Neeson's marks. Liam Neeson says he wanted to kill a black man after friend's rape.
So let's
hold on. This one's a little rough for me. Spike Lee refuses to cast Liam Neeson following racist comments. Here's the thing.
Let's recap the situation for those who don't know. If for some reason
So
if you're listening to us and you don't know about this somehow,
I don't know how you're listening to us, but you don't know the situation behind Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson.
Would you turn off that power saving mode so we can have people?
Liam Neeson's current movie. Is I think just called Revenge.
No, it's
based on Revenge.
It's based on Revenge. It's called
Power Saving.
Cold Pursuit.
Cold Pursuit. In his new movie Cold Pursuit, he is his son is killed and he goes off on a revenge streak. Trying to get back at the people who caused his son's death.
Right.
So the thing about that is that Liam Neeson is a hardcore actor. He has always brought some sort of gravitas to the things that he's done. There's always more to his performance than just being in front of a camera.
Right.
So during an interview, a lady reporter asked him, "How do you latch on it? How do you bring that out? Wanting to get revenge."
It was asking a full question of how do you get into a mental state.
Yeah, because most people don't think about that regularly.
Right. Most people are not, maybe crazy like us, or, something like that where you start thinking about, what would you do in a situation or, especially a situation that he was in. So he responded with something, and I think we both agree with this. It sounds like, in my opinion, that it's something that he wanted to get off his chest and to have a proper conversation about.
Yeah, because in all reality, you just saw me set that, so I don't know why I just turned off.
I don't know what's going on there.
In all reality, there is absolutely no reason for him to go this deep with this answer.
Yeah, not at all. He
could have easily just been like, oh, I think we've all kind of thought about that. 100%. I think we all have that within us, blah, blah, blah.
100%.
Some sort of cookie cutter answer.
Yeah.
Easy, no questions asked. And
I mean, even if you listen to the interview, he says, I've never told this to anybody. I can't believe I'm saying this to a reporter.
Right, exactly.
So, clearly his conscience wanted to
Definitely
say it, and he wanted to talk about it. And here's the thing.
And the story that he shared.
So 30 to 40 years. Yeah, he says up to 40 years ago. Let's say 30 to 40 years ago, he had a friend. And I'm assuming possibly still friends. Maybe that friend's no longer around. Who knows?
She said she passed. He said she passed.
So she has passed. But she was brutally
He said she was brutally raped.
She wasn't just raped. She was brutally raped.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, they are very, very close friends. I don't know if some of you out there don't have that good of friends or even family members, but when somebody very close to you experiences something brutal, I don't know about you, but I would go on the biggest, I would find whatever I can to destroy
and I think
whatever needs to be destroyed.
And I think if people think that they wouldn't, they're lying to themselves.
They're lying to themselves.
Listen, we had a moment, and you and I reacted to this differently, but we had a moment where a family member of ours was wronged by a former partner. It wasn't anything violent. It wasn't anything ridiculous, but she ended up getting what one would say is kind of a permanent reminder of him.
Right.
I was ready to beat his ass.
Right.
I was ready to beat his ass. I was like, I will find this motherfucker. I will beat him down.
Right.
Because I felt that needed to be done.
Right.
In that moment.
Right.
We talked about it. I talked about it with our family member, and in the end, I didn't do anything.
Right.
It's a little bit of a different situation because it wasn't.
Right, because you were going to go specifically for the one person.
Right. It wasn't more broad.
Liam Neeson's original statement was that he went to a neighborhood that he knew was very populated by black people in Ireland 30 to 40 years ago.
Right.
So let's not forget
during what he very calmly describes as the Troubles.
Right. Let's not forget what 30, 40 years ago looks like here, and now think about Ireland. So,
I mean, he went on to Good Morning America. Or
Good Morning. I was going to say Good Morning America.
He went on that the next day, and he talked about kind of like the era and the time. The period was such that you would wake up one morning and a Catholic bar would be torched, and then they would torch a Protestant bar in response, and it would just be back and forth like that. It was an extremely violent time.
And a lot of people out there, a lot of scientists, a lot of very intellectual people will say that hate is not something that you are born with; it's something that you learn. Well, if that's what we're going to stand by. This man grew up in an era of hate.
Right.
I mean, he's what, 60, 70? So he's seen all the hate. Right. We've seen none of the real hate.
Right.
He's seen all the hate. He even grew up in that hate. So for him to have a reaction such as my friend, very close friend, somebody who was dear to him, got brutally raped. And so his mental state at the time said, go to a neighborhood where you know is very populated with the same ethnicity that gentleman was. And I wouldn't call him a gentleman, what he did, but regardless, that person was. And go hope to God that somebody pushes you or starts something to where you can beat them brutally, right?
He didn't get some sort of justice from his perspective.
Yeah, to get some kind of
Because
justice.
it wasn't going to be justice for her. He said she had already dealt with it.
Right, exactly.
Like she had already
it wasn't
so
for
I don't know
her.
if the guy went to jail or whatever,
But at the end of the day, here's the thing. One, we're not excusing the fact that he took it upon to say he will take on any black person to beat the shit out of or the living crap out of. But absolutely, that's wrong. Once again, though, he did grow up in an era where that was the thing. That's what you learned. That's something that was always around you, no matter what country you were in. A lot of that hate was the same. So, but he didn't go there to actually like start the fight. He was just hoping somebody would start it with him.
Right.
Okay. Now, once again, I'm not excusing. People seem to like hear whatever the fuck they want instead of actually hearing what is being said. We're not excusing the fact that he went for an entire ethnicity.
Yeah, he would have fought any black man.
Right, he would have fought any
black man that was maybe came out drunk and swung at him.
Right,
he would have died.
Or
he would have ended up killing Liam Neeson.
Right,
like,
or he might have killed Liam Neeson. Right. So we're not saying that is an excusable thing. Right. That is not. His reaction to a situation is fairly understandable.
I think so.
Depending where you're,
as far as wanting to inflict violence,
right.
in retribution
right.
of the violence perpetrated to you and yours, I think that is fully understandable. Now again, it's specific. It was handled in a specific way, and even he said, like, he asked, like, what did he look like?
Right.
So and he said if it would have been an Irishman, if it would have been a Welshman, it would have been the same thing.
It would have been the same.
He would have just found some Welsh dude and wanted the same situation.
But here's my problem. It says Liam Neeson's racist comments. I honestly see this as.
I honestly think. I think somebody like Spike Lee is busy. And I think he's consuming his media in bites.
Right.
So I think he heard that initial comment, that initial quote, which was, I was hoping. I think he said, I was hoping for some black bastard to set upon me.
Right.
And that, by itself, sounds terrible.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, if you take it completely out of context, it sounds
But then if
horrible.
you hear the rest of the fucking conversation,
where
he says a week later, I realized what I was doing, and I said, what the hell is wrong?
I'm going to get to that. But that's what I'm trying to see here, is like, it's not just Spike Lee's remark, like, oh, he's going to refuse to cast Liam Neeson for racist comments, but there's like, the Vox says, Liam Neeson's racist comments explained. Like, the racist part was that he was going to go after... And once again, not go. He was just hoping that any black man would fight him so he could beat the fuck out of him, literally to a death. That, sure, can be taken as racist. To me, that's more a prejudice thing, right? He took a ethnicity, and in that situation, it happened to be black that did that to his friend, and so that's what he went for. He even said it himself, like we just said, that it didn't matter what they were. He would have done the same thing. But he does want to talk about it. And let's get to the point, the most important part. After about 4 or 5 days being in this dark mental state, he sat down and said to himself, what in the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
So as a human being, he realized after a few days, something was wrong. Something was so wrong that he needed to get it figured out. And what is wrong with that? What is wrong? Now, here's the thing. I'm super excited that people are actually sitting down and talking about it. However, I'm definitely not excited. Like, for instance, the fact that Good Morning America or whoever it was sat down with him to have a conversation is legitimate. I feel that maybe even Trevor Noah would actually sit down with him and have a conversation with him about it. The point is to have a conversation, not to just lose your shit and just immediately make this man the devil, which is not the case. It is not the case even in the least bit. The man had a break point. He, after a few days, realized something was wrong, like this is not clearly normal. And ever since then, from what I can tell, he hasn't done anything that would indicate that he was this kind of person. I mean, Whoopi Goldberg said that she's known the man for a very, very long time, and she's never seen him anywhere what he mentioned to. Right. Nowhere near that. Nowhere nothing that it would even indicate that something like that would have ever happened. So why are we losing our shit? Like, you heard one conversation and you lost it?
I think it just goes back to outrage culture. We are in a society right now where it is okay to try to bury someone based on some shit they said. I mean, you look at in James Gunn's situation, it was 5 years ago, 10 years,
something like
let's
10
say 10
years
years
ago.
Let's say
His very, very eccentric tweets.
let's say 10 years ago, and we got that man fired.
Yeah.
This was 40 years ago, when the
40
world
right,
was different.
when the world
Not
was
even
different.
just that, like, this was...
Like, this isn't a freaking Weinstein situation where
where
he
he's been
just
doing it
kept
for
doing
40
it.
years.
Right, he's been doing it for 40 years. This man just had a lapse of moment for a few days, and then he was like, what the fuck am I doing? Weinstein kept doing it. He didn't stop.
I think the biggest thing to look at is what he said on Good Morning America. He was asked, like, what do you think is the teachable moment? He's like, I think we need to talk about this stuff. When you feel this kind of thing, you need to talk to people. He's like, because it's obvious to me with that situation, with a bunch of other situations, that even the slightest scratch is going to reveal something underneath.
You think in Ireland men sat down and talked about their feelings in the 70s?
No men sat down to talk about
Bro,
their feelings.
till this day, people don't want to, especially men, don't want to sit down and talk about their feelings.
Right. And you look at something like Terry Crews's answer, and he said something along the lines of,
I forgot
it's a story. It's like the story that could have birthed a white supremacist or something like that.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, if he hadn't just come out of that, that goes all the way south. Yeah. And we never know who Liam Neeson is, except maybe that he's the, I don't know, grand whatever poobah of the clan in Ireland.
Exactly, precisely.
Like, it
is outrage culture because it's not just towards. It's on both sides, right? It's on both sides. Like, look at. Terry Crews didn't even justify the guy's situation. He just
literally described it.
He literally just explained what was happening. Like,
he's like, it sounds like he shared something.
He sounds like he shared
that
something.
was a big moment in his life.
Yeah. And then everybody lost their shit against Terry Crews.
Yeah, they're like, we'll cancel you too. And I was like,
the
what?
fuck? What are you talking about? And then the whole Kevin Hart thing, same thing as James Gunn. He literally said some shit 20 years ago. And dude, when he said he won't apologize, I was like, you don't have to. There's nothing to apologize for. Fuck, I think he's already previously apologized for that.
He did.
So to be brought up again to apologize, no, absolutely not. This was stupid. All of this it's sad. It is sad to see that our culture, that the world, that the human beings don't know how to anymore properly analyze and sit down and literally view the situation and figure out what it actually is, instead of just boom, I'm fucking pissed that this was even said.
I think it spawns out of kind of the society that we live in. We live in a instant gratification society. Whatever it is, you want it now, you can get it now. Yeah. So if it's justice, you want it now. Yeah. And you want, so saying that this man is a racist and he needs to go away, that feels like you've done something. That feels like you've achieved something, when in fact you've done nothing. You've achieved nothing. Right. And all you've done is set back the conversation. Because now you've buried a man. Yeah. Where they're trying fucking hard.
Really hard to fucking bury him.
People are talking about trying to get him CG'd out of Men in Black 3.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, dude.
It's absurd, man.
Get the fuck out of here.
It's this.
I have no problem if you find out that somebody's somebody's to this day walking around Hollywood talking shit about whatever group. Right. And then you say, hey, I know we hired you for Iron Man 4, but you're out.
That's what I'm saying. If he kept doing this, if this was a consistent thing since 40 years ago, he kept doing it, that's a different story.
Right.
Let's say if there was a problem.
Right. Let's say if that happened and he never got into that fight, but then he kept that rage and he kept that forever, and he refused to work with black people or would demand more pay than black, or something. If anything happened besides what happened, I could understand it.
100%.
But 40 years ago, to have a moment of anger, true rage, and then to be like, what the fuck,
and
dude?
It's funny, I feel like no matter what anybody says, if anybody just points out, 1, 40 years ago, 2, pure rage, it doesn't matter, because all they heard was that he said that he wanted to go, he kept going to a black neighborhood, or a very populated black neighborhood, and he wanted to beat a black man that would cause a fight with him to death.
Right.
That's it. That's all people are hearing. They're not hearing the fact that it was 40 plus years ago. This was the only time this shit occurred. After a few days, he realized something was wrong, and he figured out throughout the years how to fucking work with that and fix that.
And I think, I honestly
none of that matters. It's the fact that 40 years ago,
and
this man had a lapse of fucking what? Mental state?
Like we said earlier, and I think that it really kind of wraps that up, is that this was not publicity. This was not let's get people talking about my movie. It wasn't that. Because it's not polarizing. It wasn't a this is me taking a stand. I think that black people aren't in trouble or whatever the fuck, you know. This wasn't some sort of like I think this now.
Right.
This was very much an opportunity for him to skate by an answer and just be like, you know, whatever.
Right.
But something within him said, hey, this needs to come out. Yeah. Now is the time for it to come out.
Yeah.
And he gave out this entire story
100%.
that is in a public eye very damning.
Yeah, 100%.
And people are clearly using it.
Yeah, clearly. Jesus
so
Christ.
He had no reason to share it, but he did it. And now we're having a conversation, but the problem is very few people are having a conversation. Right. The majority of the people, the loud people on the internet, are the people who are like, cancel him, get him out of movies, whatever, and that's the wrong fucking conversation. I think it always goes back to having a discussion. I am happy to have a conversation with anyone from any viewpoint.
I don't care.
You put the grand fucking poobah.
I mean, we do it all the time, and a lot of times we don't even agree. We sit here and we'll argue back and forth, but like we still sit down and have conversations. Ours happen to be heated, but that's because that's who I am.
Right.
That's just how I react. I end up getting heated, but I think that's because I know you. Obviously, if we sat down with somebody else, it wouldn't be a heated conversation. We'd just have a conversation, and I get, like, that's the thing. When we have conversations, like, I understand where the person is coming from. Even though at some point maybe I'll realize, like, I hate understanding where they're coming from and, like, why can't I change this person's mental perspective? But at the end of the day, still conversation. We start talking. We're still, you know, talking back and forth, trying to figure out where we're coming from. Like, it's a conversation. It's not an instant just outrage. And that's sad. And it's absolutely sad.
And I think it's to a much, much smaller degree. I've been talking to you about trying to do a podcast specifically about the Comicsgate situation.
Right.
Which is a much longer conversation. I think we touched on it a little bit, but it always went to me wanting to just trash these people.
Right.
And it was like my initial reaction was like, what the fuck is your problem? And all I wanted to do was make a podcast where I talk shit about these people.
Right.
And it took a long time for me to kind of get to a mentality of like, all right, how can we approach this subject without it being like a hit piece?
Right.
And I think that's the thing that people aren't doing. They're not having that moment of like, how can I approach this as a neutral conversation and have all sides heard?
And that's kind of like, as much as I love technology for the many reasons that is very nice, that's why I hate technology, because they have an instant way of releasing whatever they're feeling in the moment
100%,
instead of actually
100%.
sitting there and properly analyzing what just happened and then like thinking through it and be like, you know what, here's what's up. Like an actual proper thought process.
That's why you end up with these ridiculous tweets from people. I mean, I think we talked about. I don't know if we talked about this on podcast, but like the Leslie Jones situation regarding the new Ghostbusters.
Right.
That had to have been like she saw a headline.
Yeah,
and was
she
just
saw
like
a headline.
Reaction.
Yeah,
rage reaction. Because I just don't think that's a thought out answer.
It can't be a thought out answer.
So, Twitter, Instagram, all these platforms that are now that are as you go.
Yeah.
Like you can tweet, it's 280 characters or whatever.
Right.
As you walk into your car, as you start dinner, you say whatever you want, and it's out there.
Yeah.
And people don't think about it.
No,
people
not even in the least.
I mean, Twitter especially. Twitter, you can't even edit tweets.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
people commit.
Them,
people commit.
You can't edit them.
People commit right away. People commit. They post stuff, and then it's just like, this is it.
That's it.
Can't think about it. I can't, I can't look at it. Can't reread it and be like, yo, that's kind of messed up.
Right.
Let me rephrase that.
Right.
No.
Yeah, no, it's dumb. It's absolutely dumb. The fact that there was outrage towards him, the fact that there was outrage towards Terry Crews. I guess what's her name? Michelle Rodriguez is apologizing for the words she used to describe Liam Neeson's non-racist side, which, like, I don't honestly like. I think it's.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I'm guessing. I'm guessing somebody in Hollywood made her do it.
What? Because she said that he makes out with
Michelle Rodriguez apologized for Liam Neeson defense, calls her words. This is Fox News. Calls her words insensitive. Like, no, your words are not insensitive. What? Come on. Listen. At the end of the day, you have multiples of people who disagree that this man, that no one that are of you, and you know me, I hate the word minority, but of the more minority ethnicities that say he is not a racist because they know him, they have worked with him, they have, like, it's absolutely, it's dumb that there's so much backlash for something a person went through mentally 40 years ago.
I get what she's saying. Okay, so basically her thing was like, a racist don't make out with the race that they hate. And I didn't think about it at the time. I get where they're coming from. She's apologizing. So here's the quote. To my friends and colleagues and my friends and community, I want to deeply apologize for my recent choice of words and poor use of example. In a pressure-filled situation, I defended a friend in the wrong way. I now realize how insensitive it was and had no intention of invoking such a terrible historical comparison. I have learned from this and will grow from it. Which makes sense. The reason she's saying that, and I didn't think about it initially, it's an inaccurate statement. You had lots of racists that owned slaves that also forced themselves on their slaves.
Right.
So that was.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
I get. So it's not so much that she came to his defense. It's the specific language.
Right.
That's a perfect example of what we just said.
Yeah.
That was an instant reaction.
It was an instant reaction because she couldn't understand why people were losing their shit.
Right.
And she just tried to
that's
figure out a proper.
There needs to be. I feel like there needs to be like a 5-minute filter.
A 5-minute filter.
Like a 5-minute filter.
I think Joe Rogan.
Be like, we're gonna post this. You got 5 minutes to reconsider.
I think Joe Rogan mentioned that on his podcast, like that human beings need a filter or something along those lines. I feel like it was Joe Rogan. It could have been something else.
Like a 5-minute. Think about this.
But I mean, that's
like AI is everywhere, right? Twitter should invent an AI that looks at the tweet and is like, "Are you sure? I'm gonna give you 5 minutes and then I'll post this."
I mean, at the end of the day, this is all I'm gonna say. I don't have anything else to say, but I think we as human beings everywhere, not just in the United States, I'm talking about in the world, as human beings, need to calm down. We need to actually look at a situation, look at what was said,
100%.
the full thing that was said,
100%.
not just clippings of what was said,
and
properly digest what that was.
A perfect example of a small bit of something making a huge deal that when you see the whole situation was the Native American guy and the kids.
Yeah, that's a huge example.
That's a huge example because that was like people saw this photo and this like 2-minute clip of this man doing his song, and then they were trying to. It looked like they were trying to like outvoice him. It turns out that's not at all what happened.
Exactly,
and it's very much a matter of what happened, and what was shared, which is usually this much, and how people react to that.
100%.
Because that was, I watch Philip DeFranco pretty regularly, and he even said that like he tweeted about it before the whole story was out, and he apologized. He's like, I reacted to this before knowing the whole story.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's the biggest thing. Is people,
but here's the thing,
but most people don't.
Right.
It's always the page 1 headline, page 50
that's why I respect Phil, because Phil DeFranco, man, he'll do a story, and if he sees that, oh shit, we messed up, this is not at all what the situation was,
100%.
He'll come back on camera, face you, and say, I apologize, I was wrong, and that's it. And people won't do that at all, ever. That's a rarity.
Right.
I will never. You know how rare it is for me to see somebody actually admit they were wrong at some point. Like, sorry, I fucked up.
Right.
I apologize. That was wrong. I said the wrong thing. I reacted incorrectly. Like, You don't see that. So that's why for me, like...
Yeah, most people, they don't, like I said, it goes back to what we said earlier. It's just that instant reaction to stuff.
Plus, Phil, speaking of Phil and this situation with Liam Neeson, even Phil said, like, you know how many things he's done and said back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
He's like,
I started watching Philip DeFranco in 2009, which was right kind of at his kind of change point.
Yeah.
He was, like, becoming more news-centric.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, how you doing, Saccharin?
What's
I
up?
love that. I love that. Just that word reminds me of the Jay-Z song.
But yeah, like he said things that just says like
he said
I wish I never
stuff
he's like
over the
I wish I
years.
never said, but like you learn. If we as human beings cannot make mistakes and then learn from that,
100%.
then we're worthless, every single one of us. And I'm not talking about the ones that just make the mistakes and learn from it. Also the ones that don't think like they made mistakes and that everybody else is wrong, like the outrage culture. Oh, I'm outraged. Oh, you've never made a mistake? Come on now.
Right.
Come on. But that's really...
That's actually a perfect
segue. That's great.
Perfect
segue
segue
right here. Geeky Conqueror. I 100% agree with you because I said this yesterday when we saw the commercial. I said, I think Doom Patrol... I said, I think it's sad because I believe that Doom Patrol is going to be better than Titans. And I'm certain of it that it will be. I'm certain of it that it will be.
Well, so the season 1 Titans finale was meant. It was actually kind of a restructured thing. There was supposed to be a season 1 finale that was completely different.
Yeah.
They changed it, and I think the biggest problem and the biggest difference, and I think the reason that most likely it will be a little bit better is that Doom Patrol knows what it is.
Yeah.
Doom Patrol is already starting on a position that, hey, this is what the show's going to be. This is the tone and everything. Because Titans felt like it was trying to figure shit out as it went.
It really did.
It was
really
just like,
did.
oh, hey, this episode, like, we're going to have these, like...
much.
Because there were certain times where I'm like, this is a good show.
Yeah.
I fucking hate their sound design. I want to kill the person
Listen,
did their sound design.
I actually am a big fan of DC. I've mentioned this before
Yeah.
on plenty of our podcasts. And here's the thing. There's a lot of things that I will agree that are proper issues. And then sometimes I'll tell you if you're nitpicking, you're nitpicking. Right? Like, it's just like, that's just dumb.
Right.
Titans had a lot of issues. It had
Tons.
It had inconsistencies of time. It had
dude. Every episode we kept
issues.
going like, wait, did this just happen in one night? Because he just drove from Washington D.C. to Chicago
or Detroit,
and I'm just like, that's not. That doesn't make any sense.
There was just so much time. I didn't have any, like, you made fun of, like, the supercomputer that he has access to. I don't care. That doesn't bother me.
Right, because at that point, like, the Bat God concept that everyone talks about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always like, Batman has, like, ridiculous technology.
Batman always has had ridiculous hands in shit that just didn't make sense.
Right, so, like, it was just kind of like, this satellite can take a top-down photo and then also get a front shot of the license plate.
The reason I had a biggest issue with travel and time is because I would understand if he was traveling in, like, the Batwing or something, but he wasn't. He was traveling in his Porsche. He couldn't have made it from...
As fast as those are.
As fast as those are. He couldn't have made it from Detroit to all the way to the East Coast without going, like, 350 miles per hour the whole time. Like, it's just
it was
not happening.
Funny.
It's just,
it was
so
insane.
Funny. And we did not understand the time concept of that.
Because he made that trip to Chicago and got back.
I think the other big problem...
Where is Gotham located? So here, that's kind of like a debated topic.
It is a debated
but
topic.
It is supposed to be on the East Coast. We actually found a map, DC Universe map. There is a comic book map that shows where the things are. Where is it? DC... Well, this was way easier last time. DC.
Well, regardless, he says there's a map. I don't remember the map. Regardless, but it's just it's there's too many things that I didn't like about it. I didn't like that it didn't feel like a comic book team. I didn't. It felt like too much of trying to do Batman: The Dark Knight, like where it's not supernatural, where it's really serious, where it's dramatic acting, and that's not what this should try to be. What this should try to be is a comic book TV show. That's what it should be. That's the problem with, like, even with the Arrow that I'm having, not now, but definitely in the previous, like, 3 seasons, where it was trying to be really about drama.
Right.
That's not what it should be. I get that there is drama, but it's a comic book show about a comic book hero about fighting crime. That is what it should be. So when I'm watching episode after episode of Titans and I'm barely getting proper costumed Dick Grayson or proper Beast Boy or Raven fighting actual villains or crime, that is a problem to me because it's a comic book show. It's a comic book show.
So that's where it's supposed to be, right? This is clearly the East Coast,
right?
Clearly, the East Coast, the easternmost coast of America, and this is meant to be Kansas, right? So Metropolis is near Kansas, at least,
right?
So we're talking Metropolis is probably near DC comparatively,
right?
So that's kind of where we're at as far as where things are located,
right?
But it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But for me, it's just. It was a comic book show that didn't feel like a comic book show. It felt like any other crime fighting or anything like that show, and that's not what I want. I don't want that because that's not what it is. If I wanted that, I'll watch my shows like The Rookie or FBI or really like Blacklist. Anything that is not a comic book show. So to me, it's like. You wanna make this right, and you have now a platform where literally you make the decisions. You don't have to rely on network approval. Make the show a comic book show. It's simple as that. There's really nothing else to talk about in that situation.
Right. There it is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely 100% correct. A superhero show that didn't even bother to be a superhero show.
100%.
100%. And that was the problem. And that's the issue I had. That's the biggest issue I had with the show. Obviously, as we mentioned, there were some inconsistencies with like traveling, and also their sound. I mean, listen, you're. I don't care if this is your show on your streaming service and you're new to that. This is your. You're in a. How can I say? You're in a level. I expect that inconsistency with sound on YouTube still, right? And even YouTube...
Oh, Gotham's in Jersey.
So
that makes sense.
You know what I'm saying, right? So even like on YouTube, you can have that because people don't have the budget.
Right.
You are the WB. You are DC. You have a budget.
And it's their platform. It was a moot point of when they launched it. They could have launched it whenever they wanted because it was their platform.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense, right? From what I hear, I've never been to Jersey. I have no formal opinion about Jersey. I just hear things.
I've never been to Jersey myself, but apparently... but yeah, so I think personally, just judging one of two things. One, they changed the chief. I recognized that almost instantly when I kept saying...
You were like, it's a different character. And I'm like, it's a different dude. And I'm like, I guess. I just genuinely didn't remember the dude from the show. Yeah. Because it was such, like, the Doom Patrol episode was such...
It was the best episode.
But it was like a throwaway in the story.
It was
just like a
episode.
Way to introduce Guard.
It was.
And that was it.
But it was almost like the best episode. It's ironic how...
Because it was the one that was the most fun.
Yeah,
because it was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And that's the point. It's supposed to be ridiculous. It's comics. It's not supposed to be... Like, I get it. The Dark Knight did what it did because Christopher Nolan didn't want comic book.
Right.
He wanted real life.
He wanted real life. And he said that he would never include superheroes in his
Right,
universe.
right.
So there would never be a Superman.
Right, there was never going to be a Superman. He didn't want superhuman stuff. So
Right.
that's why the Joker was just a regular
Just super
dude.
technology.
Yeah, that's why the Joker was just a dude with a painted face, not
Right.
actually chemical-induced face. That's why he didn't want Robin, because he didn't believe that in real life a grown human being would endanger a child. Like...
Except that last moment. Why don't you use your real name, Robin?
Yeah.
Shut up.
And,
That's not his real name.
But that's what they did. It was just like, here's a little nod to you guys, but that's all it is.
Here's a tease for a movie that never will be, but could have been awesome.
Right, exactly.
JGL as Nightwing would have been amazing.
JGL's great, man. It's let's not talk about how great JGL is, because I could go for that for hours.
It's at 100%. Like Geeky said, 100%. It's very much a matter of the show didn't want to be a superhero show.
Yeah,
because
it wanted to be anything else but a
right.
superhero
And I
show.
get the whole mystery. Like, she doesn't remember her stuff. She doesn't remember who
fine.
she is. That's cool. That's
But
fine.
you could still make it in a superhero way.
It just was very much like, oh, she has powers, but like there was clearly a Titans before this, right?
Yeah, clearly.
But he never says that.
Never.
He never fucking says it, and it bothers the shit out of me, because when he talks to Donna, and it's like, it's clear that they've worked together before, and it's clear that they've done this stuff before. It just never comes up.
Well, that's why I was such a big fan of. That's why I'm still such a big fan of Flash, because in Flash, every episode has something superhuman happening.
Because he's the fucking
He's
Flash.
the fucking Flash, and he's fighting crime every day while fighting the biggest, the continuous story. Like,
right, you have your monster of the week, but you have your overarching story.
Exactly. So, like, every week we see him doing something that would make Flash fun.
Speaking of this last week's episode, I thought was hilarious, strictly for the fact that I genuinely would have to think about what Flash's arc in that was. That episode was entirely about Nora trying to set up Sherlock, so that he would get off her ass.
And that's fair. That's fair. I mean, like, I'm not saying all the episodes are great.
What was the Flash storyline?
The Flash storyline was Goldface. He went undercover.
Goldface, right? Yeah, completely forgot about that. That was kind of like whatever. Although that moment where he's like, "Who are you?" and I was like, "This is gonna be great," and it fucking was. He's like, "Who am I? I'm nobody.
Yeah.
No arrest record. No."
Yeah.
I was just like, Yeah.
When he pulled that out.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying is that feels more of a superhero show than anything else. Like, here's the thing.
They got phasers.
Right. Like, in
Set to kill.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah, right. Set to stun, set to kill. Like Arrow, the first 3 seasons were fun because he was Arrow. Granted, like, he was a different Arrow. He was killing people and stuff like that. Times like this, I miss watching. I won't 100% agree with you on that, mainly because, like,
even those shows could be way more superhero.
Yeah, like Luke Cage is not a superhero show. He
If
fights
they-
regular people. He smacks them. There's one guy he fought, and like that was on 3 different episodes out of 12. Like Jessica Jones was the most boring season I've ever watched of any show. Nothing happened.
I want if they do a season 3 of Jessica Jones, because that's the only one that's not canceled anymore. Well, that and Punisher.
The only
they
two,
might have 3
the
seasons
only
of Punisher
2 I
set.
cared, and which I still haven't watched, the new Punisher and the new Daredevil season. But those are the only 2 that I actually liked because something happened. Like, Daredevil fought almost every episode.
Daredevil is incredible.
Punisher had blood and gore just like he would in the comics. Like, that was, to me, those 2 are great. Jessica Jones was a letdown to me.
The first season was boring, but I liked it. I didn't dislike
Yeah. I didn't dislike
the second season was
just
so
boring.
fucking boring.
It was just boring.
I just couldn't anymore.
Like,
I just fucking couldn't.
Once again, goes back into that wasn't a superhero show. That was just a show about a girl finding her mom and how they deal with it.
Right. It really was. And that's why I think if they do a season 3...
They happen to break some chains open.
Because that whole last moment in Jessica Jones where the hell's her name? Patsy, where she catches that thing. I'm like, if there is not a Hellcat costume in the first 3 episodes of season 3, I'm out. I'm out.
But the way
because she is so up on that,
I agree.
she would do it right away.
I
That'd
agree.
be the first
but
thing
that's
she'd
the
fucking
thing.
do.
But the way they're writing these shows, I feel like they would purposely wait till like middle to end of the series.
Jones was better with Purple Man as the villain because it was a psychological thing at that point.
Yeah,
it was a psychological
right.
drama.
Yeah.
It was a different show.
That's why season 1 was better. I'm not necessarily saying that I enjoyed season 1 greatly, but it was better than season 2. So there's that. Like
Right.
season 2 had nothing.
I honestly think they could and should do a whatever you want to call them. You want to call them the Defenders, you want to call them the Mighty Avengers, whatever you want to call them, but like a actual team that fights actual like superhero fights.
Right, 100%.
Because
100%.
it's easy. They're cheap characters.
Here's
the strength, all that stuff is easy to do on screen.
Here's the problem, and this is why I love tangents, because we always go into tangents. But the problem with what Marvel is doing is taking all these away from Netflix due to creative differences. It's not creative differences.
No,
They're launching their streaming service, and now they want these shows on their streaming service.
Thanks for the follow, Gigi.
Yeah, thanks for the follow. And so I'm
hoping,
hoping,
but they can't. It's like 3
right.
years,
It'll
5 years.
It'll be 3 or
I forget what it was. It was a specific number,
right.
But it wasn't like right away.
Right. It's not going to be right away, but they are going to take. Now, here's the thing. I'm thinking if when they do them again, they're going to reboot them. None of these. They're not going to use the same actors. They're going to redo. They're going to redo.
Realistically speaking, probably.
Probably 100%. Because then you're trying to incorporate.
Or you do the G thing, and
you just bring them all back
you bring them all back. You say it's been 3 to 5 years.
Right.
And like now you have Arrow set up.
Right.
Here's some shit that happened that like
you
we don't know about.
I hope so, but here's the thing.
It's like you could say that.
Going.
You could say that. Somebody faded. Somebody disappeared.
Yeah, 100%.
So when they reset the timeline, something's different. You know, like.
But that's the thing. I just hope they do whatever they need to do right, because here's the thing. I get what they're trying to do with Luke Cage and make it more a cultural thing. I completely understand that, and you can do that, but you still need to make it a comic book show.
I'm going to bring you into a different tangent off of that statement.
But I'm just saying. Let me finish that real quick. But they can do that, but they need to still make it a comic book show.
100%. Look at Black Panther. Black Panther is a huge cultural thing.
Huge,
but it was also an incredible superhero movie. Incredible superhero movie.
Exactly.
Like. Huge cultural, immense
and
cultural.
I get it. Budgets. That's fine. I don't care budgets. I've seen what Netflix budgets are. I've seen what they've released. So
it's not
tell me Luke Cage's budget would be extreme to make him fighting a superhero villain. Look at the Flash on CW.
And they don't have to, and it's not even that big. They don't have to do it that big.
Marvel has money. So DC is putting out on the CW shows that have villains. Now, granted, don't get me wrong.
Boom. Appreciate you, Toy Lad, for making the top 10 villains of Luke Cage.
Don't get me wrong. The Flash CG and Supergirl CG isn't great. It's barely even. It's okay at best for me. But at the end of the day, I'm still watching these characters be comic book characters, fight comic book villains, not fight regular people that they're smacking around. So don't tell me that you can't. Marvel, who's a juggernaut.
These are easy, right? They had Diamondback.
Right.
It's kind of a weird way, but they got it.
Right.
You have Chemistro,
who's a dude in a suit.
Dude in a suit with a chemical gun. It looks like Mr. Fish. So yeah, you could get some decent prop department stuff like that.
It can be done.
Cheshire Cat looks like he's some sort of. He just appears. He's disappearing. He disappears. I can do that effect. I'll do it for free. You got Comanche, who was on the show.
We had Shades, but that's not what he did.
Yo, what the hell?
Right.
Yo, like that he could have been way cooler.
Yeah.
So he could have been way cooler.
So he could have actually been a legit threat to.
So he has Cockroach, and we had Comanche, we had Cockroach both on there.
Yeah.
Spear, Moses Magnum. That'd be huge, but again, that's a pretty easy thing. And Purple Man's actually on there as well, so you could.
I'm just saying. To me, it's like at the end of the day, they try to do a serious show, and not a comic book show.
100%.
I get it. You want to explain a cultural thing? Do it, but do it.
It's doable. I think the end
of
season.
Go back. We said this already. We've come to an era where people don't know how to write good stories.
It's very hard.
They don't know
It's
how to
very
write
hard.
good stories.
You have some standout writers.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's everybody. There are great stories out there that I've watched that are recent, and I'm like, damn, that was good. But at the end of the day, so far from what I can tell in the shows, I am not seeing good. I will give it to Flash because there's moments where in Flash there's those moments where it's like a lesson to be learned.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that that's what is part of that story. It's not like, boom, it's in your face.
Right.
Like, there's a story happening about Flash, about him being a superhero, about him dealing, but, like, there's a lesson to be learned, too. And I think Flash does that very well. I don't think it does it great, but it does it very well compared to, like, Supergirl, Luke Cage. Luke Cage was all about cultural and nothing about superhero. That, to me, tells me that writer only knows how to tell one thing and not multiple, or even the writers. So that's kind of, if you don't know how to incorporate that kind of stuff into a superhero,
I think there is definitely, like you said, there's definitely something to be said for having a cultural aspect, addressing culture in a story, and there's a completely different thing about placating.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think it's very much placating when you have situations like that. When you have situations like Supergirl, which was like, okay, Jimmy Olsen's black, fine.
Right.
Jimmy Olsen's like, by all accounts, rich because he's the head of a multinational.
I'm gonna say
company.
he's well off.
Like he's
well off.
He's doing all right.
He's doing all right. He's wearing some nice suits.
But then they had that moment where again, there's two ways to approach any story that that you can like learn a lesson
100%.
from. There is the spoon-fed way that this is the lesson, or this is the thing, and then you realize
Then you realize it.
There was the moment where he's fighting, he's saving a girl, he gets his helmet shot off. The cops show up, they see a black dude.
Right.
They put guns on him.
Right.
That is the lesson.
Right, that's the lesson.
And then 3 minutes later, when he's recapping what just happened to Lena. You know, it's hard to be a black man.
Right.
And I'm like, oh
so
God,
you have to
like, you gotta just feed the fucking audience.
Right.
That's why. That's
the problem.
The immigration metaphor currently on Supergirl is, it has potential, but
It does have potential.
But the problem is, it's all just so fucking spoon-fed.
It's crazy.
They changed the intro for her to be like, I am an immigrant to this world. No, you're not.
Right.
Or refugee, or whatever the hell she says.
I forgot.
And I'm just like,
says,
bro.
Yeah.
That's like it's unnecessary.
It's
unnecessary to feed all of those things.
Right.
That's why I was gonna say, like, I was gonna take you to the side because I'm reading Civil War II right now in the comics.
Right.
So I'm in like 2016 as far as Marvel Comics goes, and Sam Wilson took over for Cap when he got old.
Makes sense.
Every single issue of Cap since then has been about apparently all of fucking America is like, not my Captain America. And I'm like, what?
What?
Because, again, this is not the first time Steve Rogers has not been Captain America.
Right.
Right? John Walker, I actually forgot about this. John Walker was Captain America for a while. He becomes U.S. agent.
Okay.
So John Walker was Captain America in the 90s for a while. He gave back the shield when it was time to switch that out.
Right.
You had Bucky.
Bucky, right.
He became Captain America for a good long time because Steve was dead.
Right.
I don't understand the problem. So, and they escalated it when they went from Steve being old.
So in the comics, America's saying that?
In the comics. Dude, it's so ridiculous. Like the whole premise of the Captain America story arc in that is that like America, like, dude, the art is this like drab, dark color art. Oh, wow. And I'm like, it's Captain fucking America, bro.
Wow.
Like, and the whole story, the entire story is about the fact that nobody likes the fact that he's a black man and he's Captain America.
Jesus Christ.
That's exactly what the storyline is. And the whole thing is about, like, now they introduced this whole AmeriCops thing, which is a really long story, but basically it's like these dudes in suits, and they're like private police.
Right.
And for whatever reason, it works.
Right.
So then the Philly, I think the Philly or the Brooklyn, whatever it was, no, Brooklyn. The Brooklyn, like, the New York Township? I don't know. New York City, like, accepted them as, like, a supplementary police force, which makes no fucking sense.
Right.
And then they're, of course, like, kicking down doors. They're, like, stopping people. They're, like, using excessive force and all that shit in the black neighborhoods.
Right.
Because...
Of course.
Right.
Of course.
And I'm like, again, there's a way to do this? Like,
yeah,
there,
no,
first of all, if you wanted to do
problem.
the whole story about, like, police brutality, just do a story about police brutality. Don't, like, there's no need to do this, like, substitute police force. They could
not,
just be cops.
Right, but that's not even police, that's not even police brutality. Like, what you're explaining to me sounds like America, the entirety of America is becoming into Hitler's world.
It's honestly, like, if you
if
you were to talk about everything right now,
right,
strictly from the point of, like, Alex Jones and, like, I don't know, Sean Hannity and, like, Fox News, if nothing else existed and that was the story, that's what this
crazy.
is. And I'm like, but that's not the only thing. That's not the only perspective.
Right.
And it's just like they made it seem like every fucking body is against him.
That's crazy.
And only, like, the 3 people next to him, like Misty Knight and, like, the D-Man, those are the only people that have his back.
That just doesn't make it game.
And I'm like, this doesn't. And now, granted, this also kind of butts with the Secret Empire storyline, which I have not gotten into yet, where Nazi Cap, Hydra Cap, whatever the fuck
right, that everybody lost their minds about.
By the way, that whole thing of, like, oh, Hydra's not Nazis.
Right.
No, they were 100% Nazis because the last, leading up to that storyline,
right.
every fucking Hydra person that they, like, spotlighted, that they talked about, had a fucking swastika tattoo on it. And I'm like, no, there's no way this isn't, like...
Right.
This is not like they're like a science thing. No, they're Nazis.
That's clearly
like,
Nazi.
for fuck's sake,
right.
It was Nazi Cap.
Right.
Like, but it was so it's butting up against that. So at this point, Cap had his mind fucked up, and so he's like Hydra, but he goes behind Sam's back mind you. So he got young again,
right?
Which is when the whole mind switch happened,
right?
And Falcon's like, well, shit, what the fuck do I do now? He's like, I just crowned this other kid who just got powers as the new Falcon.
Right.
He's like, if he's gonna be Captain America again, the fuck am I gonna be? Right. And I was like, that's a genuine moment there.
It is a genuine
And Steve's like, dude, I wasn't fucking around. It's your shield now. And I was like, all right. That's what's up.
Right.
And now, again, I know that Cap's evil or whatever at this point, but now he goes behind his back to these guys who are just like the Sean Hannity and, like, these guys who are just, like, ridiculously super hyper conservative.
Right.
Like, just unreasonably hyper conservative.
Right, I got you.
He goes to them and somehow, like, he's on their side, and he has U.S. agent attack Sam to literally steal the shield.
Interesting.
And I'm just like, that's so much.
So is Civil War II then kind of like?
But that's just part of it.
Right.
This is the Captain America tie-in to Civil War.
No, I got you. But so what I'm trying to say is that maybe they're doing that because of the story arc that's going into, like, Steve Rogers is with the Nazi or with the...
No. So the actual Civil War II story was the fact that the Inhumans... Let me backtrack a little bit. What was happening is...
I'm not...
No, hold on. This is actually funny. It's tangents, man.
I know it's tangents, but I don't
What happens is Thanos shows up and he's like, where are my fucking Infinity Stones? Because he always does.
Right.
Black Bolt has one of them because the Illuminati, they all have one.
Right.
And Black Bolt's like, he's going to fight Thanos. Like, mano y mano, right? He's going to fight Thanos.
Right.
But, because they're going to fight on Atalan, which this time is flying above New York, he's like, fuck this. Drops the fucking Terrigen mists into a bomb and it explodes. The Terrigen mists are now a cloud that's going across the planet. You need to know this because now a spontaneous Terrigen person, like this dude was at college, he was talking to this chick, they were going to make out, Terrigen cloud shows up, they're like, are we going to become Inhumans? Right? They're all happy about it, by the way, which is like the funniest fucking thing because everyone's like, I'm a mutant, no! And I was like, are we going to be Inhumans?
Right.
Like, it's like super ridiculous.
Right.
But he comes out of the cocoon and he's like, I'm normal still. But then he fucking sees the future and he sees, like, like he sees these ridiculous fucking like terrible tragedies. He sees like all this shit ahead of time. So they stop one, they stop another, and now there's kind of a thing, and Captain Marvel's like, this dude's a game changer.
Right.
We can stop all the shit before it happens.
Right.
Iron Man's like, you can't do that. That's ridiculous. You can't fuck with the future like that. And the reason he's mad is because Rhodey died. Because they knew, so Kid has the vision in like the first issue. Kid has the vision. He's like, Thanos is fucking coming. He's going to a place and he's going to kill all the fucking people there.
Right.
And he's going to take, he's like, there's a place. He's like, but he like describes it, and Captain Marvel's like, oh shit, that's Project Pegasus, because they're building a fucking cosmic cube. Of course they are.
Of course they are.
So what they do is they evacuate, they fill the place with LMDs, so like the robot people.
Right.
And then they squat up, dude. They bring like 10 fucking 15 superhumans.
Right.
He shows up with this, he shows up like 90s Punisher, 90s Cable. He shows up with the biggest fucking Thanos gun, and then they're like, swarm! They just fucking start beating on him, and he like jukes a missile from War Machine. It hits Jennifer, She-Hulk, and she's like, what the fuck? It's just a missile, right? Like, oh fuck, like I'm kind of fucked up. And he's like, oh shit! And he turns around, and Thanos punches through fucking War Machine.
Wow.
Through him. And I was like, yo, he's dating Captain Marvel all the time. She loses her shit.
Right.
They like use it as fucking energy. So of course, now they're anger fueled and they beat the shit out of him. And Tony finds out his best friend's dead, and he's naturally miffed.
Of course.
So now he's whatever the fuck caused that, which he feels is this like he would never have been there if not for this kid.
Right.
He's like, nope, I'm against it. So that's where the divide is. So it's not Iron Man versus Captain America, it's Iron Man versus Captain Marvel.
I see.
So that's the setup.
Right.
And all the tie-ins are kind of like their own little clashes
I understand
of
that. Right. But that's what I'm trying to say is the Captain America story with him being, nope, that's not our Captain America. Is it because the country's being taken over by...
No, that's
just the country.
That's just the country.
That's just the normal country, not
because that still hasn't started. Like that still hasn't started. Cap just came back. Steve Rogers. Cap has just been around for a little bit.
But
he's got his pointed little shield.
Listen, at the end of the day, I don't know what to say about that, except that it's I'm not a writer, so
we've talked about this, and like we just covered it. It's one thing to handle a topic and show it. It's show, don't tell. That is like a key element of visual storytelling. Right. Show, don't tell.
Like you're essentially, for a state or the country to have a special police force that brutally attacks black people.
Right. Yeah, and it's
that sounds like Hitler's world.
Right.
So, like, you're telling me America is becoming Hitler?
Right. That's why, like, when they were like, "Oh, they're adopting this," and I was like, "Why? Why are they adopting
right,
this?"
There's a difference. Right. That's like, what the hell? Why would you do that? That's like, once again, going between telling a story and like spoon feeding you. You could have shown, let's say, I don't know, some, maybe a black suit. Sam, maybe even Sam, right? He's driving his car and gets pulled over, right? You could show that, right? You don't have to spoon feed it, but you could show that instead of like saying all of America is okay with having this
it's
force that
pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, no, that's insane. That's crazy.
It's pretty ridiculous, and like I said, they double down on this, like whatever political agenda they want, and this is again where I kind of understand what the Comicsgate people are doing. Like they don't like the fact that this shit is in there, and I don't either. Like I don't like the way it's done.
Right.
But to me, I'm just kind of like,
don't get me wrong.
I don't like this period of writing, but like
shit
changes.
Shit changes 100%.
Because it's
comics. But to me, it's like there's proper way of showing an issue, and then there's just like it's an issue. Oh, thanks. That's a great story.
Yeah,
I enjoy the shit out of it.
Right, and that's why it's this like it's the oversaturation of a concept.
That's like Civil War, for instance. The first, not the movie, the comic book, right? The Civil War comic book.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't tell you why this was an issue. They just showed you each side's view.
Right, and it was very much. I mean, they put it down because
but
you had to know what the reasoning was.
Sure, but like
it
when you read the story, you were like, "Fuck, am I on Cap's side or am I on Iron Man's side?"
Right.
Because you're like, both make sense.
Right. It was
in storytelling. It wasn't like, here's why Iron Man's wrong. Here's why Cap's wrong.
Right, and that's exactly what we're getting here. Is like you're getting like, oh, even like Steve Rogers, Captain America is on the wrong side of things.
Right.
Because like you're meant to just be like, oh, Cap's the underdog, so like everyone's against him.
Right.
So Steve's against him.
Right.
Everyone's fucking against him, and I'm just like, it's too much.
No,
it's too much.
No.
Like you can do this without turning this into like
100%.
Everyone shits on Sam.
This is not good writing.
It's not.
There's a better way to tell this story.
I'm interested at this point to see, because the whole thing, everyone, all the like reporters and all the people that talk, like who are like being shown as like the people who are pushing this forward.
Yeah.
All they talk about is like he can go back to being the Falcon if he wants, but he's not Captain America. And I'm just like, why?
I'm just going to go back to finishing this part of the conversation with, they need to make, I always forget her name and I apologize, but Black Panther's sister, they need to make her,
sure.
What do we call, Iron Maiden? Is that what she, the
you're
name?
Talking about Riri? In the comics?
Maybe. I don't know who plays
Ironheart.
Ironheart. So she needs to go to be Ironheart, because obviously, why would she be named Iron Man? She should be...
She never was.
Right. So she should be called Ironheart and take over for Iron Man. And Sam should... well, I mean, I guess depending if why do I forget his name? His real name.
It's right here.
I know. See, I hate that. I hate that I forget names.
Hold on. We can do this.
I can do it if I Google it, because right now...
We're not going to Google it.
So, Mac.
Nope.
Mackie. It's some...
That's Howard Mackie. That's Sam. Howard Mackie is Falcon. Sebastian Shaw. Sebastian Stan.
No, that's not. Yeah, it's not Sebastian. But I was talking about Sam. I was talking about
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie.
Howard Mackie.
I was like Howard Mackie.
Howard Mackie is
Anthony Mackie
is a writer in the comics.
Right. Anthony Mackie needs to
become Captain America.
Become Captain America if obviously he chooses to. I mean, I don't know how his contract is set. Maybe he doesn't want to play Sam anymore.
He might be done.
Like he maybe is not interested in being in the Marvel universe. Stan's got a few contracts. He's got a few contracts with Disney. So if Sam's not happening, then it's going to be Bucky. But I hope it is Sam, and just be done with it. Simple as that. Which it would make sense, because Bucky is his best friend, but he grown very attached to Sam, so like there's no reason why not to ask Sam. Plus Sam hasn't had issues with his brain where he was brainwashed. Right. So he should entrust the mantle to Sam and not Bucky, because Bucky was brainwashed,
right,
and almost killed a few people,
right.
Not almost, but he did kill a few people. So at the end of the day, if he wants to continue in the Marvel universe, I hope he gets the role. If not, then obviously it's going to be Bucky, and simple as that.
Right.
I do hope it's very simple. Tony Stark's done. You give it to her. This is done. She's a genius.
You give it to her, or bring in Riri Williams. Why the fuck not?
I mean, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Because then you could also have Shuri become Black Panther.
Right, but at the end of the day, you don't need to do that, because you've already shown she's just as smart as Tony.
She's smarter.
She's smarter than Tony.
She's smarter than Tony and fucking and Bruce and all of them.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you've clearly shown she can do it, and she's already created armor.
Right.
So there's no reason for her not to be it. There's no reason to introduce another character. Just make her it. Just do it. She's already there. You've introduced her.
I have no problem with it.
Story.
She could be Ironheart. She could be whatever. That's
what I want to say is just to finish that off, like bringing it back to the movies. That's as simple as that. That's a long tangent, though, going from Doom Patrol and Titans to all that.
Right.
At the end of the day, Doom Patrol is going to be better than Titans. What are we talking about next? Awesome segue.
That's terrible segue. What are you talking about?
It was.
That's horrendous.
It was
horrendous.
It was horrendous.
Horrendous segue.
It was horrendous. But I didn't want to continue bashing in the same subject. Like we've already taught. Like there should be proper storytelling. There isn't. That's people are going to agree or disagree at the end of the day.
Right.
That's
the next thing we're talking about is stuff that's upcoming. A few of
You want to talk about Young Justice before we talk about what's upcoming?
Young Justice is fucking great.
Young Justice, they did it.
It was a good sequel to what we already had. I honestly think there's not much to be said. I think if Young Justice went on for fucking ever, but with the growth, with like characters changing and growing and new shit happening in their lives.
I will say it started a little strong with like the whole team splitting like that. That was a little like
it was a lot right of way.
That was a left.
It was a lot. It was a lot right off.
There was no proper way. They didn't properly at any point introduce that. Not at the end of last season, and not in beginning. It just happened.
It was just like, now Batman and a bunch of people that he like co-conspirated with.
Peace out.
Batman's like, we're fucking out of here because you guys aren't
once
going to do what we want.
There's proper way of telling stories.
But you find out, and this is a spoiler alert if you aren't up to date on Young Justice.
If you're not.
This is a spoiler alert that you find out later that this was planned.
This was planned.
The splitting and basically plausible deniability.
Right.
The League being under the UN Charter can't do some shit.
Correct.
So what happens is they all decide.
But at the end of the day, it's a good show. They continued overall really good. Like I said, that just came out of left field for no reason, without any proper explanation. And I'm not looking, like I said, I'm not a fan of like extending episodes just to tell a irrelevant piece of story. But you could have taken one episode of last season and one episode in this season showing that Batman is going this direction. So it wasn't just such a hard left turn. Like you could have shown that Batman needed to go this direction because of, I'm stuck in a rules and I need to be outside.
I mean, but that was they were pretty straightforward about that. I think
they were, but it was just like, the team's breaking up. What?
There was
no indication that this needed to happen.
It was out of left field. I mean, they couldn't have set it up last season because I don't think they had a third
No,
season
they
plan.
didn't. No, they didn't. That's the problem.
So
they could have taken like one
episode just to kind of be like to show Batman's hands being tied.
100%.
Not just like because it was kind of blatant. It was like, well, we need to do this, and they're like, we can't fucking do that.
Right.
The UN won't approve it. And he's like, well, then I'm fucking out.
Right. Then I'm out.
And I was like, I would have rather seen like him trying to do something, and then right as he's about to, you have Clark or somebody, Calder or whatever, be like, yo, if you do that, we're gonna be screwed with the UN. And he's like, I don't want to fuck it up for everybody, so he doesn't do it.
Right.
But then like somebody gets away or whatever, and then second episode you do that. But it was kind of out of nowhere.
Right. It was.
But I think overall
it's
I
a good
think
show.
Young Justice, like I said, it could continue for fucking ever, and I'd be fine with it.
I mean, listen, they have zero reason to cancel it.
Zero.
Because it is on their network, so their ratings...
It's on their network. It's a little more gory, so people are going to be more into it.
Oh my
Dude,
God.
That Cyborg.
That Cyborg gore was amazing.
Cyborg gets blown up, and you're just
like... that was so good. Because
it was just like his bone, and he's bleeding, and his guts
his
were out.
heart fucking...
I was like...
Yeah, you saw his heart cavity and all that. But that's what's great. I've been sick and tired of these shows that are... It's not even kid shows, because I watched stuff like Young Justice when I was a kid, and people would say, "Oh, well, you weren't properly raised." No, I was properly raised, just because I watched a cartoon and I understood that it was a cartoon, not real life.
Yeah, that's a weird one. I'm not gonna get into that.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, the fact that like all these shows are for babies, they're not even for kids. They're for babies.
I was really upset when I heard
like the new Thundercats.
When I heard that But that's a different style. That's not even for babies. That's just meant to be more of a like strictly comedy show.
I mean, yeah.
It just happens to be that
I
universe,
guess,
which
yeah.
is whatever. And that's a style. That's a lot like to me. That's a lot like Powerpuff Girls. And
Right. Right.
It's comedy for the sake of
Right,
comedy, and just meant to get easy laughs or whatever. But for me,
But even like the Teen Titans.
when they did Ben 10.
But even the
When Ben 10,
Ben 10.
when Ben 10 got relaunched, and I saw like the art was garbage.
Yeah.
And
Because what was wrong? Because what was
he
wrong?
was 7 again or whatever.
Right. What was wrong
But I was
with
like,
the
but
other?
the whole appeal for me of Ben 10 was
That
he
you
was
saw
a
him
kid
grow.
and he grew up.
Yeah.
And he got different shit. He got
Yeah.
different powers. He could do more shit. I'm like, dude, why can't he have a kid?
There was no reason.
Like, have him have a
100%,
kid.
100%.
Have him be like, oh, hey, Ben Jr.,
Right.
whatever the fuck.
Right. Well, that's
By the
what I'm
way,
saying. That's what I'm
this
saying.
is a thing.
Like
Here, your turn.
Right, but that's what I'm
Like-
saying. Like, what was the point of changing the way that art was, the way that story was, the way that cartoon was? There was no reason.
None.
What was the reason of going from Teen Titans
To Teen Titans Go.
to Teen Titans Babies?
The Teen Titans Go is garbage.
Like,
I don't like it.
It's stupid.
It's again, they took something that was, it had some like
Right.
slapstick,
right.
but it was still well
That's
done.
why
well
I'm
drawn.
super.
And then they were
super
just like,
excited.
let's just lean into the
Yeah.
slapstick.
Well, that's why I'm super excited that this is back and it's more not just adult friendly, but even me as a younger kid would enjoy. Because even as a younger kid, I wouldn't have cared for Teen Titans Go. I would have cared for Young Justice, and I'm super excited. This is
Yeah,
on there.
100%. I was never,
Yeah.
dude, my favorite cartoon to this day from my youth is Gargoyles.
Oh, God.
Gargoyles is one of the darkest fucking things you'll
Yeah,
ever watch. Dude, I
100%.
watched it. I rewatched it again
Love
later,
Gargoyles.
and I'm like, holy shit,
Love
this is a dark
Gargoyles.
show.
Love Gargoyles. I mean, even the Batman animated series.
Batman animated series, and even that was something where when they switched styles, I was a little salty.
I was a little
salty,
Yeah.
but then that kind of became the DCAU
Right.
style, which is fine.
Right.
But no, when it was when it was great, it was great.
It was great.
And that's why I always talk about, like, every time I see something new, I'm like, nah, this is garbage. This is why this is why the 90s were the best.
I don't have time for this.
This is why the 90s were the best, man.
They were, man.
You look at anything from the 90s, any cartoons that started in the 90s or started in the 80s and were in the 90s primarily, they were all fucking good.
Yeah.
There is no, oh, this is kind of garbage.
Right.
This is kind of shitty.
Yeah.
No. X-Men,
Yeah.
Spider-Man,
Yeah.
dude, all the
100%.
Marvel ones, Fantastic Four, Hulk,
100%.
even fucking Silver Surfer was good.
Well,
it
that's
was
what-
weird, but it was
Well,
good.
that's why I got to give it to anime. Anime is still not playing this. Don't get me wrong; they have their fun, like
They
goofy
have
ones.
genres, and there's
Right.
nothing wrong with that. That's
Right.
the shit that's on Nickelodeon
Right.
is for kids,
Right.
and I get that, and I'm fine with
100%.
that. I don't like when you take something that wasn't on Nick,
Right.
you put it on Nick,
Right.
it
And
gets
then you-
Nickified,
Right.
and that's what it is.
Right, and then you get rid of the other stuff that was enjoyable.
Right. The same thing like what they did with
Like, did you need to get rid of the other Teen Titans and then have Teen Titans Go? No, you didn't. You could have kept the other Teen Titans and had Teen Titans Go on Nick.
100%.
Like, the other Teen Titans would have been great for us. So at the end of the day, I'm just happy it's back. It's doing good. I like the art. I like the story so far. Like I said,
Yeah,
the only thing was the hard left of...
I'm interested to see like when they build out because now we're kind of getting more to like what Halo is and
Right,
what,
yeah.
I'm interested to see how they build that out.
100%.
It's very like
The Judas contract.
yeah, it was just like Tara, we saved her, and I'm like, oh, the Judas contract.
Yeah.
Because that was obvious. Because it was like, oh, they're controlled.
Can we talk about
as
the
soon as they said
easiest
they're
save-
controlled, and I was like,
Can we talk about the easiest save in the world? They just bid on her. They bought her.
oh yeah. It wasn't like, oh, we had to go in there and fight, and
No,
it
they were
was
like,
just like
500,000. Thank you.
500K. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you. And they walked out.
Yeah, they walked
That was
out, and
great.
he's like, by the way, those were totally Quartervals masks, except that they weren't. They were just masks, but I was like,
They were just masks, but I thought for sure they were about to say Quartervals.
yeah, I
100%.
was like, how is it not the Quartervals?
I don't know.
Seems pretty Quartervalsy.
Yeah, that's 100% that I was like, I was.
But that's like one of those things. Like, I almost want, because like for me, there is potential in that universe.
Right, 100%.
I want like a Batman spin-off series of that.
I'd love
I want
to, yeah.
a Bat Family,
100%.
whatever you want to call it.
100%.
But I want it to be do Batman Incorporated.
100%.
Holy shit, that'd be
100%.
awesome.
Do it.
Because then you could do all of those
Do it.
storylines, and then you could see what people like. If
Do it.
people latch on to Batgirl, who is Oracle,
Do it.
which, by the way, that was the funny thing. That was the one thing that like you didn't think about, but like the Killing Joke, in some fashion, happened in between season 2 and 3.
It did.
Because Batgirl was in season 2,
Yep.
and Oracle's in season 3,
Yep.
and she's definitely paralyzed.
Yeah. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, and it's like, Joker definitely raped her in between seasons.
And made her paralyzed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That really fucking sucks.
It really sucks. But yeah, at the end of the day, I agree with you 100%. They should spin off Batman. They should spin off Wonder Woman. Bring back those shows. But not like, don't bring back like the old show. Just start new ones. Like, start new ones with that art.
DCAU.
Yeah.
Give me a new DCAU.
Yeah, don't bring back
DCAU was one of the best things out of the late 90s and early 2000s.
100%.
You had Batman Beyond. You had
100%.
Static Shock. You had Justice League.
Yeah.
Justice League Unlimited. Holy shit, was like a fucking...
Oh, God, yeah.
That was a renaissance period for those.
You have your own network.
There's no reason not to. There's no reason not to.
I mean, technically, they had their own network anyways with TNT and the CW, but regardless.
But the CW aesthetic is very interesting.
It is.
The CW is very much a show, like a channel for pretty young people.
Yeah.
If it's a show that has pretty young people in it, it's almost certainly the CW.
So like, but now you legitimately have a network. You have your own streaming platform.
That's why I really, really, really want.
And you should.
Swamp Thing to be...
Here's the thing.
Really.
And you should, because then you'll just get more subscribers. People know that shows like that are coming out, good shows.
How raunchy do you think Harley Quinn's going to be? How raunchy? Like nipples, underwear. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of that show being just like softcore porn.
No, I don't think it'll be. I think they'll use. She uses her sexuality. So
yeah, and that's fine. I have no problem with that.
I don't think it'll be. I just think that they rely on it a lot in the comics. I tried reading like the writing for. Oh, you're talking about for her comic book.
For her show.
For her. Right, but I'm saying like you're saying they use it a lot in the comic.
Yeah.
You mean
for
like
for her shit specifically, they use the like I'm a crazy bitch thing a lot, and she's like taking a shot, like taking a bath, and there's bubbles, and I'm like,
right. I don't know.
Like she gets attacked while she's in the shower.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, and I'll say this the same way I say about her comic. I don't think she needs her own thing.
I think she works really well on a team. I think she's a great like if you look at it, I don't think you've played a lot of D&D, but
no.
in D&D and RPG games, like RPG online stuff, but like when you choose a affiliation, so you choose a lawful good, chaotic neutral. She is a chaotic evil.
Right.
And chaotic evil characters can be very, very interesting.
Right.
Especially when they're on a group of people.
100%.
Because like Harley Quinn as a character is interesting when she's a foil for everyone else. Like when you have a Dark Knight moment where he's like, Joker, I'm gonna stop you. And then she like trounces in and you're just like, oh my god.
Is this going to be a live action or animated?
I believe it's going to be DC Universe Harley Quinn. I actually think it's going to be a live action
animated series.
Harley Quinn animated series official trailer. When was this?
Last.
What?
October 4th.
What's up, New York? I can't wait for you guys to see my new show on DC Universe. You're gonna piss yourselves, I promise.
I think they're gonna hate it, Harls. They hate everything.
No way! It's got comedy, action, incredibly gratuitous violence, and unlike that Deadpool cartoon, it's actually coming out.
I thought we were supposed to make a show that was like super gritty and bleak and depressing. You know, like a DC thing.
That is an excellent way to make television and film. But everyone in my show is gonna have fun, or I will bash their f***ing heads off!
There's no fun in Arkham, Quinn.
Except him.
Yeah, guy's a real buzzkill.
Is that a real thing?
I don't
They're
know.
gonna hate it.
I don't know. If that's the real thing,
If that's it,
if
I'm
that's
down
it,
hard.
that's happening, and
We're gonna cut that in because if that is, because this is not on their channel. But let's see. I'm gonna fucking check DC Universe. There has to be a YouTube channel for them. Holy crap! If that's real,
Someone knows something. Someone always does.
what? It's just a.
But if that's the show, and that's how it plays,
dude,
bonus. That
Georgia, lie down.
Like it wins. It wins.
This says 2 weeks ago. This was months ago.
Just keep going.
2 months.
I mean, you can search it. Just search it.
I'm already too far. I'm too
Just
deep.
hit the
No, it's right there,
search
it's right there.
button.
It's right there. New York Times.
Yeah, 100%. If that's any indication of what this show is gonna be,
Dude, that's great.
if that's the indication of the show,
I'm
then
down.
here's the thing: it'll work.
It's an animated show. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous,
and that's what makes it work.
And I actually like her breaking the fourth wall. If she does that, I'm actually okay. If she does it that way, if she does it, it has to be right. It has to be right. It can't be just like I'm breaking the fourth. If she does it that way,
Although I don't think she will,
I think she will.
but not to that degree.
Not to that
because
degree.
like Ivy broke the fourth wall.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
That was just kind of like telling you that the series was coming, so that's why they did it.
If it's gonna be that,
But-
I'm down, dude.
I'm
That's good.
I like it. The voice
I'm
actress.
already having fun.
The voice actress was 100%. The voice actress was on point. I love the enthusiasm of Harley Quinn. There's
100%
no doubt in my mind that that's going to work if it's like that. So
100% down.
my answer to your question, Dalmor, is it's going to be great.
Like,
Basing it off that, it's going to be a great fucking show.
yeah, I'm down for that for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%.
The other Super Menagerie. Oh, that's a trailer or preview or whatever.
100%. So when is Doom Patrol coming out?
I think it said spring.
Okay.
Actually, no. I take it back. I guess I'm wrong.
You are wrong.
This is the story.
So that's that. But I think it has a date, February 15th.
Yeah, so I was gonna say
So it
this
comes
month.
out like 4
It's
days.
this month, yeah. No, that looks great. I think it's 100%.
Huh. Hold on. So each of these say, but do they have their real? Oh, it does have their real names.
In my opinion, after watching that,
Uh-huh.
the show's gonna be great.
100%.
If that is what is an indication of what the show's gonna be. The comedy was good.
Yeah.
The
And like,
fact that she
in-
swore, but they bleeped it out.
In 1 minute, you had a hilarious thing that is better than a couple of the comics that I've
100%.
heard.
So,
just heard.
and just kind of looking at everything else about it, I don't think it's going to be a softcore.
Well, I was concerned if it was a live action show that they would have
Right, and that's
because you can't do some of the more ridiculous stuff that she does in real life.
right.
So that's why I thought maybe
100%.
they would.
100%.
I thought maybe they'd dress her up like they did in the movie,
Right.
and it was gonna go
No,
down that
no,
route.
they did a good job. They did a good job. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how that plays. I'm actually really excited for them to bring that out.
100%.
Because now I really want to watch it.
I'm interested in because Swamp Thing is the other one, and that I think is going to be live action Swamp Thing series.
Which I would hope so, because that would then play into like Titans and stuff like that. So Doom Patrol. So you can have that play in.
Okay, so here's the premise: Abby Arcane returns home to Houma, Louisiana, to investigate a deadly swamp-borne virus, where she develops a bond with scientist Alec Holland. Alec Holland tragically dies and discovers that the mysteries of the swamp, and that Holland may not be dead after all. Arcane discovers. So Abby Arcane that to me sounds good. Because Abby Arcane
So it does look like it's not animated. It's going to be a live action.
Yeah.
Because it's not saying that it's animated anywhere, so...
Andy Bean as American actor. Oh, what's his IMDb? Let's see a picture of this guy. Let's see my... Okay. Yeah. I feel like he needed to be blonde. I don't know why, but I always feel like Alec Holland's blonde.
I mean, we'll see. Give it some time.
But like,
I mean, listen, we didn't have that.
as long as it plays to the supernatural mythos of
Once
it,
again,
which is what made. I told you before, like
going back to what we said about Titans. If it's or even if he's not a superhero, regardless, if it's a comic book show being a comic book show, then it's fine.
Yeah.
If it's a comic book show not being a comic book show,
if they
it's going to be a problem.
If they make it more, because here's the thing, a lot of that storyline is drama, but it's drama between. So, I told you about the New 52 run of Swamp Thing,
right,
kind of being one of the best ones.
Yeah,
that and Animal Man, and I feel like if they bring that arc in, which the rough storyline of that is there are 3 to 5, depending on which part of the story you're reading, forces, like primordial forces in the world, and there's the red, the green, the gray, and I think there's the blue as well. Whatever, but primarily the red is meat, so humans, creatures, whatever. The green, obviously, trees and such.
Plants, right?
And the gray is decomposition, death.
Okay.
Abby Arcane is the descendant of I forget his fucking name, but a dude who is like the avatar for the gray, whereas Alec is the avatar for the green. So that is the initial. So the primary conflict of that storyline is these like super primordial forces, like the green and the gray and the red also fight. Like you would think that like plants and creatures rely on each other, but like in this storyline is like they still have a conflict.
Right.
Like plants will choke out animals.
Right.
Like plants create toxins which kill
I
animals.
got you.
So like it's this whole thing of like fight for dominance.
Right.
And if you have that within that storyline, it could be great.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hope, like I said, I think the problem with comic book shows, TV shows, live action TV shows, is they try to be too much of a not comic book show.
Yeah.
That's my initial issue with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They got better when they decided to be a comic book show.
Yeah, when they ended up using more powers.
Yeah, when I said
like the whole
when I was bitching for season
thing
one,
of Deathlock.
Yeah, when I was
okay.
Right, when I was
Could've
bitching
been way
about
better.
season 1 and season 2, even though I did say season 2 was a little better than season 1.
Well, yeah, because it opened with
what's his face? Right, but I was bitching about them because I said this is not what I wanted. This is not, because it wasn't a comic book show. It was just agents doing agents thing, and I watched that on a bunch of different other shows. I get that they're not your standard comic book story in the sense of like they are an agency, but they still deal with comic book stuff.
Right.
So if you're making a show and it has nothing of a comic book feel, that's a problem. Where now, like in the more recent season, I love the recent season where they split it up in two. One point they're in the future, one point they're back and fighting supernatural stuff. That's a comic book show. There's nothing less comic book.
Flint from season 5. He's an Inhuman. I don't remember if he was an Inhuman on the show.
Right.
But he's from the Inhuman storyline.
I see.
I was like, because I read that, I watched that, and then I started reading the Inhuman stuff from like 2015.
Right.
And I was like, oh shit, that's like one of the new Inhumans. That's dope. That was like a cool little.
So
throwback.
I'm super stoked. I'm super stoked about that. As long as they keep it, like I said, Doom Patrol looks better than Titans because I think it's going to be a comic book show being a comic book show.
I just think overall, like I said before, I think it knows what it is.
Right, because you got a dude that's a robot. You got a dude that's wrapped in bandages.
Right, you got a dude that's wrapped in bandages who is literally negative energy.
Right, you got a dude that's a cyborg. Like, it's at the end of the day, if you try to make it anything outside of it being a comic book show, you're gonna fuck up.
If it's not ridiculous, then you're wasting. Like, why are these people that way?
You're not gonna hear good things. Like,
it's got to be ridiculous.
At the end of the day, that was the complaint for Marvel too, man. At the end of the day, people really love Daredevil. People greatly enjoy.
People love Daredevil because he's fighting ninjas every other fucking minute.
Exactly, and he's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing.
Like that's why the Wolverine was way better than Wolverine Origins. 100%. Wolverine Origins was just like he was 100%. Fighting a bunch of dudes.
100%.
And like
that's why the
military
movie,
guys.
right? That's why
the Wolverine he was literally fighting ninjas every 10 fucking minutes.
100%.
Like this is what it
100%.
is. Like that's why on the Flash, like on Flash and Arrow and all these things, they all are fighting something ridiculous.
Right.
Every episode there is something ridiculous. The Flash fought a fucking giant shark dude.
Yeah.
ridiculous.
We've
Like,
seen
if you
Gorilla
say that
Grodd-
out loud in the room,
we've
you're like,
seen-
what?
We've seen Gorilla Grodd. Granted, CG's not great, but
It
we've
got better.
seen it.
It got better.
It did get better.
The first Grodd appearance was not great.
Right,
but
right.
later it got better.
Yeah, but at
like,
the end of the day, we're still seeing it.
But
We're
like-
seeing
and that's-
comic book
that's-
stuff in a comic book show.
And
That's the
why,
point.
That's why, like, Jessica Jones, I get where they were going with it, because Jessica Jones premiered in a detective noir kind of comic series,
Right.
and that's what they went with. But the problem is they're not doing that as well as they could.
Right.
That show is way too bright.
Right.
For it to be that.
Right.
You could do that show that way, but it needs to be darker.
Right.
Sorry, it needs to be darker. She needs to be punching dudes through walls.
That's what I'm
She
saying.
needs
Like,
to-
she hasn't done anything. She threw somebody across the room and she broke a few
right,
rocks.
and the whole thing is that she's like afraid of her powers and she hates herself, and it's dumb.
Right.
It's dumb.
It is.
Like,
it really is.
There is potential to that show. Luke Cage is supposed to be bright, and the last
Right.
season ended with him being the literal mob boss
Literally.
of fucking Brooklyn.
Literally.
And I was just like, are you
Yeah.
fucking kidding
And
me?
the other problem with Luke Cage for me is like we saw 3 fights out of 14, 15 episodes.
It's too many, and it's like every time somebody shoots at him, he's like, guess you haven't heard. Yes, they fucking heard.
Right.
Like,
Yes, you haven't heard. Like, nah, I'm pretty sure they've heard.
no,
Also-
nobody's confused. You
Right.
are well fucking known.
Right. I mean,
Tony
it's just-
Stark has heard about you
and
at
that's
this point.
and that's the problem. That's the issue that I had, is they were trying to be too much of a serious show instead of a comic book show. Once again, not a problem to like show culture, show seriousness, but show it in a comic book show. Don't
Yeah,
make
it's-
a serious show and then like here's a hint of like his name's Luke Cage and he's
It's
superhuman.
doable. Like I said before with the Jimmy Olsen thing, you had that moment where you did both. He was guardian, he was protecting a woman, his
Right.
helmet gets knocked off, and then you have this moment where the cops pull
Right,
guns on him because
right,
he's a black dude.
right.
And I was
That's
like,
right.
we get it. But then,
Right.
then they went the
But
extra fucking spoon feeding
and
mile,
that's the
and
problem.
it's dumb.
That's the problem.
It becomes dumb when you have to force choke down all these lessons that like you're supposed to learn, not be told to learn.
Right.
That's the difference. That's
the difference.
shit. Like in school, when you go to school and they throw a bunch of facts and shit at you,
Right. You don't listen.
you forget most of it.
Yeah.
Most of it.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I challenge any fucking adult. How you doing, Kaiser?
What's
I
the-
challenge any adult in the modern day to do long division on a sheet of paper.
Right.
Give them a simple fucking
Yeah.
long division problem. I challenge because they can't.
Okay.
That shit is not something. It's not a lesson you learn.
100%.
But like, guess what? Everyone remembers reading that fucking Telltale Heart and knows that you're supposed to fucking keep secrets that where you fucking killed a dude and you keep it like you're not supposed to keep that motherfucker under your board because you fucking always think about it because it's right there. When you hide a body, don't hide it under your foot. That's the lesson I learned. Was that the wrong lesson?
That was the wrong. You learned a different lesson. No, but I mean, at the end of the day, you can introduce cultural stuff. You can introduce serious, lessons. But you need to do it in the sense of this is a comic book show,
Right.
and that's it. That is going to be a lesson you learn when you watch the comic book show. It's like, man, that was a great comic book show, but man, what a lesson.
Yeah.
Not in like, thanks for spoon feeding me that lesson. I'm
What
glad
I
Luke
just-
Cage slapped a dude.
I just saw something recently. Orville. The Orville is an excellent example of that concept of like a lesson is learned. The Orville really is like the new 90s Star Trek show.
Right.
It plays the same way. It plays just like that show did in that here is some things that happen and we go to a planet and like crazy shit happens and
Right.
like but then at the end they just are done. Okay,
Right.
cool. But then like you realize like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Supergirl, ironically, had a moment in this last
Supergirl
episode.
can have a great.
It could be. And
They're just spoon feeding everything. It's like they show
what I
you
said-
something, but then they have to tell you that they showed you something.
what I said in the first season of Supergirl has now cursed the show.
Right.
I liked the fact that it was like it felt like a comic book. It felt like there was a lesson to be learned every
Right,
time.
right.
Because they weren't force feeding you that lesson every time. Now
they
they've
are.
gone super hardcore
Super hard.
into like really like this is the lesson.
Right.
And it, like at times, like in last season, it takes you out of the story
100%.
because it made no sense. The
100%.
statement made no sense
100%.
when Maggie's father was there.
Yeah.
Made no fucking
Yeah.
sense. it had an opportunity in this most recent episode. And I'm not really going to ruin anything for you.
Right.
Dreamer's sister finds out that Dreamer's having the powers.
Oh, okay.
Turns out that only like one daughter is supposed
I
to,
see.
but because Dreamer is trans,
Right.
like no one fucking thought she would.
Oh, I see.
So they get to this moment where like she confronts her sister, and her sister's like, "How did someone like you get these powers anyway? You're not even a real woman." And then it's just dead silence, and you're just like, "Oh shit!"
Wow.
And
Now,
they
did they go spoon?
No,
Did you explain why that was wrong?
It was like the one good moment, and I was just like, "Yo, you can't say that.
know what
That's your sister, bro. Like, shut the fuck up."
You know what I'm expecting nowadays? Like that kind of like
Right,
moment happens
yeah.
and cut. Listen, so this is why that was wrong. This is why there was.
I was waiting for.
Just in case you didn't understand why that was wrong to say that, let us explain to you, and then we'll go back into the show.
I was literally waiting because like Kara sees it, and like I was expecting for her to be like, "Oh, I'm really sorry," because like that was really hurtful of her to say.
It's like yes, it was.
Like,
God damn it.
Like, I was waiting for that, but that didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
I was just like, "Yo!" It was like a really, truly like visceral moment. The performance was really good on the person who played the sister. Like, but it was just like one episode out of a fucking season.
So it was well, that's the problem. Like,
and I think they cut the intro for this one. I don't know if it was like a longer episode, so they needed more time. They cut the intro, so I didn't hear the "I'm a refugee to this planet" thing at the beginning.
Well,
so like overall, it was just like a better tone.
Well, hopefully they're learning. Hopefully they're
I would
realizing,
hope so,
hey,
man.
we don't need to explain what just happened.
I would
Like,
hope
we
so.
get it. This was wrong.
so.
There doesn't need to be an explanation. Because like you just said that, and I'm like, did they cut? And they're like, listen, so kids, this is why this shit was wrong, and then they will go back into like that would like
there's that's why in G.I. Joe back in the day, they waited till the end of the episode, and then it was just like, here's the lesson.
right.
Like, in case you didn't get it,
I
because
forgot about that.
your children,
Yeah. Just in case you didn't understand, because you're kids.
because you're 5-year-olds and you're watching things with like explosions and Cobra
Right,
Commander.
right.
Maybe you didn't get that,
Yeah.
so here's the recap. But, like,
Just to finish up this wonderful podcast of ours, since it's going on for like I think
I don't know. We've been here for a fucking minute.
it's been a while.
Been about a minute.
Just a few other things that are coming out that I'm super excited. Alita Battle Angel, super stoked.
Soon.
I
just watched real quick.
once again, I said this. I don't know how many people are going to watch this on YouTube where they can actually comment, or we have one person live watching, so hopefully they'll comment. I think Captain Marvel is going to break the $1 billion.
100%.
I
No
think
question.
I think you're insane if one, you're insane if it doesn't. Two, as we always talk about lessons and people bitching, if you're a feminist and you're bitching about representation and equality, then you should fucking go see this movie,
100%.
pay the money, and go watch it. Because I know I will. What was your excuse for not going to see Tomb Raider? I wish somebody would answer me.
Right.
Because you know
And
what? That was a badass movie.
That was a great fucking movie.
That was a badass movie. And
I do
wish
want to
that
say,
comes back.
I watched, in anticipation, there was a bunch of stuff on my phone that was like, Captain Marvel is like 1 month away. And I was like, oh shit, I really need to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I watched Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I was actually curious, the Wasp.
Like what the money was?
Yeah, what the money was.
Total was 622.
Their budget's not listed, but
You can find it
622
in
total.
Wiki,
But
I'm
domestic was 216. I imagine it was probably at least $100 million budget.
At least.
I would say probably 125.
Yeah. 125, 150 mil. At the end of the day, I think that
Budget.
wow,
Whoa!
162 to 195. Well, there you go.
So the foreign market really made their money.
I mean, listen, regardless, I always base it off a total anyways. I don't care what just domestically it does. That's irrelevant nowadays.
Yeah, it's the world.
It's
not,
the
no
world.
longer
Yeah, it's the
America.
world. Yeah, it's no longer just America. It's
But
the
like, I just wanted to touch base real quick. Fun movie, better than the first one, and
way better than the first
and it
one.
ended on such like a left turn in the tone because it was like mostly just kind of like a fun
Right,
happy-go-lucky
right,
thing,
right.
and then he's like in there and he's like, haha guys, I get it,
Yeah.
and then it comes out to the outside shot and I'm like, oh god, they dusted, that sucks.
Yeah. I was
You're
waiting for
stuck,
that.
bro.
I was
You're
waiting for
stuck.
that. So that's going to be. I'm excited. Obviously, after Captain Marvel, we're getting the next Infinity War. So part 2.
In September.
Is it September? I thought it was like early, man. I think because I think it's like
End
a
game.
month. I
End
feel like it's
game.
right after.
Release dates. It'd be dumb if it was super. It'd be silly if it was super close.
No, because it would be 1 year after the thing.
Yeah, GameSpot. Do we not know yet?
April 26th.
GameSpot.
I told you. It's beginning of the year, my friend. Because it'd be dumb, because like the last movie then would have been
So
over
1 month for Cat.
1 month for Cat. It doesn't matter. It'll make its money. It'll make its money within that first month.
What do you? Okay, let's do a prediction. Let's do predictions. So we're gonna be doing this regularly. Let's do a prediction for Captain Marvel opening weekend.
Opening weekend?
Opening week.
Total?
Total. International, of course. I'm not fucking around with domestic.
Total. I think that movie...
Kaiser, feel free to throw in your prediction as well.
If that's who's watching us, millions probably. Yeah, 100% millions. A couple of hundred millions. I think total, international, worldwide...
Hold on, let's see. What was the?
Here, let's see. What was Avengers? Go to...
that's not fair.
No, that's
fair.
not. But I just want to see what the most recent...
Hold on. It's loading. Let's. Ant-Man and the Wasp was going to load, so let's look at that. What was the opening weekend for that? Real quick.
That's not loading.
Quicker. Like
That's not loading.
it is. There it is. Opening weekend was 75.
But that was domestically, I think.
Yeah. That is usually what they look at.
I don't give a shit.
Domestic summary opening weekend.
But just click on opening weekend.
Okay. Yes.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, total gross. Is it not? Do they not have...
Let's see. Weekly. No, weekend right here. July 6th through 8th.
I just don't understand. Why don't they have... Is that
I think it might just be domestic.
just domestic?
I think they look at that just domestic.
All right, so if we're, let's say we're just talking, then
Fine.
well, it says foreign right there, so
But that's this doesn't say.
yeah, I don't know. That's weird. I'm kind of surprised that I'm gonna say, let's say we're doing just domestic.
Infinity War was 257.
If we're doing just domestic, I think that movie. If it doesn't, I'm gonna go on blast on every social media of all these people that bitch about representation.
Marvel.
I'm gonna call them out for not going to see the fucking movie if it doesn't hit 200 million.
Budget's 152.
If it doesn't do
I was going to
200
say-
million opening weekend, if we're just doing domestic as it says, Ant-Man and the Wasp, fine. The first one wasn't. Not a lot of people were. Not everybody was a fan.
152 million is the budget. Yeah.
152 being the budget. I'd say domestically opening weekend 200.
What else did we
million.
just look at earlier? We looked at the budget was like 200 mil.
I don't remember. But regardless, it should do 200 million. It should do 200 million.
I was going to say 175.
If it doesn't do 200 million opening weekend, I'm seriously putting everybody on blast. Everybody that bitches about...
I'll join you.
Because, dude, you don't sit here and bitch about representation, but then you don't support it.
I'll join you.
Because then at
I
the
will
end of
join
the
you.
day, you're doing nothing. Your words mean shit because all you're doing is words.
Yeah.
You're not showing action.
200 mil is
Words are
absolutely
not
possible.
action. 100% possible.
200 mil is
100%
absolutely possible.
I'm seeing
this movie is literally the flashback sequence after the end of Infinity War before
100%.
Endgame.
Yeah,
starts.
100%. Yeah, because we're going to see beginning...
It ends at the end of
Yeah,
Infinity War.
100%. So,
Guaranteed.
like, it starts off with us... The whole movie is about us learning about her, and then at the end of the movie, it's her being paged by freaking Fury.
By the way, I love that Marvel included a classic Samuel Jacksonism at the end of that. Oh, mother!
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's great. It's great. I think Endgame breaks 270.
I mean, the last one did. I say 300.
The last one did 257.
Oh, you say 270? I say 300.
I want to say 300, but I feel that might be.
I've watched that movie so many times. I lucked out. I was working at
you were working
at
at
Best
store,
Buy for a week. for a month. And
it was just playing constantly.
That's all we played because it came out that month,
Yeah.
so we just played that back to back.
Yeah.
I learned so many things about that movie.
I mean, here's
realized
the
so many
thing.
things.
I think because it was left on such a cliffhanger, it should do 300 million. That's why I'm thinking it should do 300 million. Knowing how people are, if it breaks 275.
Shut up, dog.
If it breaks 275, great. I think it'll easily break 275. I think it should do 300 million. I think I would be shocked if it doesn't do 300 million, considering it was left on a cliffhanger. It is literally part 2 of the next movie.
Yeah. Remember that time when they were like,
Well, it's not a
gonna be
two-parter.
Shut up.
It's not a two-parter. I don't know what you're telling yourself.
I don't know what you think the meaning of two-parter is, but when everyone dies at the end,
When everybody dies,
you're not done telling the story.
and you didn't defeat the evil.
You ain't finished.
You're not
You ain't
finished. So yeah, 100%. I'd say Captain Marvel. Is it Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel? I always keep forgetting which one they're calling her. Captain Marvel. So Captain Marvel, 200 million.
They'll do Ms. Marvel as a TV show, I think.
They should.
Kamala?
I think they should.
Kamala, I think
Yeah,
will
100%.
they'll do a TV show because that
200
would be the
million,
smart thing.
200 million for sure for Captain Marvel. To be honest, it should do more. But 200 million for opening weekend and 300 million for Avengers. If Avengers does not do 300 million, considering once again that it left off on a cliffhanger, I don't know what the fuck people are doing, because like who doesn't? I've been anticipating to see the next part since it ended. I'm like, what happens? How did they get through this? Like,
dude,
like we have our answers, but like, how did they do it? How did they make this work?
That to me is what, like, I have a deep-seated rage for why we haven't had another Hulk movie.
Yeah.
And kind of like the payoff in Avengers was okay.
Yeah.
But the end of Incredible Hulk, where he's like meditating and he
Oh,
opens
I
his
know.
eyes and his eyes
I
are green,
know.
and I was like,
I
he's
know.
controlling it.
I know.
And then I never got anything out of that.
You did.
Except that, like, that's my secret. I'm always angry.
That's my secret. I'm always angry.
It was okay. It was an
Yeah.
okay payoff, but
Yeah.
like I wanted way more to that. I wanted like that moment, but like he's having coffee and somebody
Here's
says
the
some
thing.
shit and he's
Here's
like,
the thing.
Hulk.
That's why I loved Thor Ragnarok so much, because it was a Thor and Hulk movie.
Yeah,
It
was a
wasn't
great
just a Thor.
movie. That was a great fucking movie.
The best Thor movie. Period. I don't care what
100%.
anyone says.
100%.
It was on point.
People were like, Ragnarok and Infinity War are 2 parts of a new Thor trilogy.
Right.
And I was like, I can see that.
Yeah.
The arc, as far as his story arc, sure.
But yeah, so 200 million, 300 million.
I'm interested to see these new suits, the new Avengers suits. I'm thinking quantum tunnel suits. Someone mentioned. Let me take that back. I did not think that. Someone mentioned that, and now that I've seen, Ant-Man and Wasp, it makes sense. So like they have these suits in the comics or in the toys, like overseas people found the toys,
Right.
And they're like these suits that look very similar.
Which would make sense.
They look similar to what Hank wore. when he
Right.
went into the
It would
quantum
make
realm.
sense. It would make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I now that I know what the quantum realm is, now that I know that there's a time component to it, because that was kind of like a quick mention at the end of Ant-Man and Wasp. I don't know that it was what I said it was at the end of Infinity War. Because what I said at the end of Infinity War was when Strange realized what was going to be the only way to win, he did what he did in Doctor Strange. Did a spell
Right, that's
before
what
he
we
gave
got,
him the
right,
time
but
stone.
that's not what it was.
But I don't think that's going to
No, because I think he
I think
knew
they're gonna
that
go-
Hank Pym would have that device
Yeah.
to be able to go.
Yeah,
Through
and I think that's maybe why, maybe like that time, because essentially think about like that whole last sequence.
Yeah.
That takes place during that last
All
fight.
right, so now, before we finish up, we said 200 million, 300 million.
200 million, 300 million.
Does Cap and Iron Man die?
I think Iron Man is grievously wounded. I don't think he dies.
Right.
But I think he's no longer capable of being Iron Man.
Okay.
And I think Rhodey becomes Iron Man.
Okay.
It's a smart move.
I hope Rhodey doesn't become Iron Man, and then, like I said earlier, I hope that Panther Sister becomes Iron Man.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
Or Iron Heart, whatever you want to call it. I hope she wears a suit.
you want her to be.
I would like to.
You
see
want
it.
her to be in Stark Tech. I see.
Yeah. Well, not necessarily. It could be her own tech, but like, It could be just better than Stark.
Right.
Yeah.
So just like a replacement
Yeah.
Iron.
Yeah, exactly.
A replacement armor wearing hero.
Right, exactly.
I think Cap.
I
think Cap dies.
Fair, although to be fair, just to play off that, you could say Rhodey becomes Iron Man and she becomes like the War Machine, but not necessarily named War Machine. But
She could become War Machine because War Machine's not masculine or feminine.
right, but I'm just saying either way, like
Yeah.
you
I think Captain America dies,
right.
but he dies in the way that he's died in the comics and
So
the
he
way
could come back.
and the way he died on the Spider-Man animated series. He gets shunted out of time space.
No.
So that later you could recast him and he's
Right.
back.
Here's the thing. I don't think. I think Chris Evans loves to act. I think he's a very creative person. I don't know if he would actually come back to the role. So if anything, I agree.
That's
with
what I
you.
said. You would recast him
Right. Well, that's what
because
I'm
of like, you look different. Time space.
Right.
Like easy solution.
I mean, you don't have to recast them. That's the thing. You don't have to. When you recast them, you might as well reboot the universe by then, because then you've done 20, 30 years of.
Well, no. Well, you could reboot the universe. I'm very interested in what this movie does to bring in the.
But that's what I'm saying. You can bring
Fox
so many.
properties.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You can bring in so many new characters that can be the Avengers. That can be, like, you don't need to bring back old. It doesn't have to be the comics. It doesn't have to be. Let me rephrase that. It still needs to be the comics in the sense it's a comic book movie.
Sure.
It doesn't have to be the comics in the sense like, oh, he's dead. He's kind of not dead. We'll bring him back. He's dead. No, it doesn't need to be that. You have plenty of characters.
You want permadeath.
Permadeath. You have plenty of characters that can take over roles. That can run the teams. It doesn't.
Yeah. 100%. Dude. I told you my ultimate fucking finale is at the end of this, some magical fucking way, Monica Rambeau is leading the Avengers. That's me. I'm an asshole.
Monica Rambeau?
Captain Marvel in the 90s.
Sure.
I've always said my Captain Marvel's black. Like that's my thing. Like there's actually this
But
was
then
by the way, this was like the dumbest fucking moment.
But at the end, no, you're right. It will be Captain Marvel running the Avengers, but
it won't be her. Yeah,
it'll be the new one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
she's gonna take over literally at the end of this movie.
100%.
Now that you say that,
100%.
Yeah.
100%. She's gonna be the leader of the Avengers.
Yeah.
You're gonna have
That's it.
her.
I don't know.
So
why I didn't think about
the
it.
Avengers. Let's do a team. This will be the last thing we do today.
Last thing.
Let's do a team lineup, Avenger lineup at
Right.
the end of Endgame.
So the Avengers lineup at the
For
end
me-
of Endgame is Doctor Strange.
For me, no, hold on. For me,
Okay.
For me, Captain Marvel,
Right.
Black Panther,
Right.
Rhodey, because Iron Man's dead, Tony's dead.
I hope so.
Spider-Man, of course, because he's definitely alive.
Yeah. 100%.
Hulk leaves. Banner leaves. Banner Hulk, whatever you want to call him.
Right.
Doc Green. He leaves. He maybe works for S.H.I.E.L.D. He's going to be a plot device. They're going to bring him in and just shoot him at things.
Yeah.
Vision and Scarlet Witch go off to have their own thing. So
they won't be in there anymore.
I would remove them from that.
Yeah, they won't be in there.
I'm trying to think who else do we have. Black Widow is also doing her own movie, but I would still keep her on the team. Hawkeye. No, Hawkeye goes back. Hawkeye goes back home because his family's alive.
Yeah.
So he stays home.
Yeah.
Damn, who else do we have? Shit, it's Liam. When you kill off a couple people, it's Liam.
It's not
because Bucky's not going to be on the team unless Bucky takes over his Cap. So the last thing you see, dead bodies, blah blah blah, and they announce the new Avengers, and it's Cap, Rhodey, Winter Soldier / Captain America, Falcon, Spider-Man. That's it. I don't think Doctor Strange is on the team because Doctor Strange sees his position as the Guardian way more important. I think he gives them his number. He's like, you guys call me if you need me, but I still got to do this thing. Because he has to,
right.
he has to hold that gate. He has to hold that door basically.
Right. Okay. I mean that's fair. I mean if we're going with that, then yeah, my list is exactly the same then. Captain Marvel, she's going to be the leader. You're going to have Rhodey as Iron Man. You're going to have either Bucky or Sam as Cap. Probably Bucky, let's be fair.
Bucky as Cap and still Falcon?
The only reason I say he's going to be Cap is because we know how long his contract is.
And
So-
you also can't have him on the Avengers as the Winter Soldier.
Right.
So then what would he be?
Right. So he's going to be
Although
Cap.
he could be Nomad, and if they went down the Nomad line, I would have the biggest 90s
I mean,
boner.
here's the thing. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope Sam's Cap. But if just going based off contracts, I'm gonna say Bucky becomes Captain America. That is. Sam stays as Falcon, and we got Spidey. Is that everything?
Yeah, I
think
can't
that's
think of
everything.
anybody else.
The only thing. Oh, and Panther, of course.
Yeah.
The only thing that I don't know if I agree with you or not. I think when it comes down to Avengers, when Avengers need to assemble, I think Strange will be there. I think Strange will be doing his own thing, just like the Avengers
Right.
have been. But then when it's time to be the Avengers, Strange will join them.
I don't know. I think he's his characterization in the movies have been very much that he is focused on him doing his own thing.
I don't think it's recording anymore.
Bro.
I don't know why it wouldn't be, because I have 2 SD cards and it's recording on 1080, so there's no way that like it filled up both cards.
Battery's still alive.
I'm pretty sure it's not recording.
Let's check. Oh
I'm pretty sure it's not recording. No.
no. It says
I mean, is there a red
empty.
dot?
It says empty on both. It says 0 hours.
That's it.
Cards are full. Offload, motherfucker.
Well, one's 64 and the other one's 128, but the other one still had some things on it.
So, actually, we'll do this. I'll start recording here. And that was cut, so we're just going to get...
We don't even know where it stopped.
Yeah, no idea where that stopped on the video, so we'll just have the cut here. Yeah, so I think you have Cap. I think Bucky is Cap. I think... Oh, fuck me if that's dead.
No, it's still running.
We have no recording then. Shit! No podcast. No, I think if you have Bucky as Cap, Sam's definitely on the team. I expect at least 3 Fox property name drops
100%.
during the movie. I expect
Listen,
someone after they fix time.
We've
So
already-
after they change shit, because again we know that they're going back to 2012. So after that whole thing, I expect someone to say blah blah blah. Reed Richards.
If they don't,
Like-
if they don't say anything about the Fantastic Four or anybody from the X-Men, that would be done.
You got a name drop. You got to name drop.
Listen, we know you have the properties. We know you're done. You've got it. It's yours.
Unless
Don't play bullshit.
the only way I accept it not happening, is if the reshoots that they did for Dark Phoenix is to do what they did in the original comics. Remember I told you I didn't know about this because I'd never read the original storyline, but in the original storyline, Phoenix rewrote reality from inside the Crown Crystal. That's the only way I will accept them not mentioning them in Endgame, is that in Dark Phoenix, they show her rewriting reality,
Wow.
and that's why we just wake up one morning and they're all in the same universe.
That'd be interesting.
It'd be bold. It'd be bold as
That'd
shit.
be interesting. I
but-
don't know if they. I think you have a perfect way of doing that right now without having to go into.
Yeah. I just think that it'd be bold, but like every hardcore X-Men fan would lose their mind.
Yeah, but
That's my opinion. That's gonna be it for this one, since we clearly had some fucking recording issues. We're gonna have to plan a little harder next time.
yeah.
But that's gonna be it for this one. Kaiser, thanks so much for hanging out till the end here. We're gonna be back here next week doing this weekly for our channel. If you don't know, T3G Media on YouTube, T3G Tangents is where the video is gonna go up, choppy as it is going to be. And then the Tangents podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, all that stuff.
100%.
That's going to be it for this one. Thank you, Kaiser, for watching. Thank you, everyone watching after the fact, and thank you for listening. We will see you guys and talk to you guys in the next one.
Yeah.
Next week.
Yeah.
In theory.
Tangents. 5 hours long, maybe 6, maybe 20.
Who knows? Who knows? All of the tangents, all of the time.
All the time.
See you guys
later.